Cowboys Nation, stop what you're doing right now, because this is one of those moments that could quietly define the future of the Dallas Cowboys for years to come. Reports are circulating that the Cowboys have made a massive defensive move by hiring Robert Saleh as their new defensive coordinator, and whether you love it, hate it, or are still trying to process it, one thing is absolutely clear. This is not a small hire, this is not a cosmetic change, and this is not business as usual in Dallas. This feels like a message. This feels like urgency. And most importantly, this feels like the Cowboys finally admitting that talent alone has not been enough. For years, the Dallas Cowboys have been a team built to dominate on paper. You look at the roster every offseason and you see star power everywhere. Micah Parsons, Trevon Diggs, Darren Bland, DeMarcus Lawrence, a fast linebacker group, athletic defensive linemen, and a secondary full of playmakers, and yet every January we see the same story play out. The defense flashes early, maybe even dominates weaker opponents, but when the lights are brightest and the competition is elite, something breaks down. Gap discipline disappears, adjustments come too late, physicality fades, and suddenly a defense that looked terrifying in October looks vulnerable in the playoffs. And that is why this Robert Saleh hire matters so much. Saleh is not coming to Dallas to babysit talent. He's not coming to simply maintain what already exists. He's coming to change how this defense thinks, how it practices, how it responds to adversity, and how it plays when the game turns ugly. Saleh's entire coaching identity is built on physicality, effort, discipline, and relentless pressure. And that is exactly the type of mindset the Cowboys have been missing when the season reaches its most important moments. When you talk about Robert Saleh, you have to understand that his reputation around the league goes far beyond wins and losses. Players consistently describe him as a coach they would go to war for. A coach who holds everyone accountable, but also protects his guys. A coach who demands effort on every snap, regardless of the score or situation. That kind of culture matters, especially for a Cowboys defense that at times has looked emotionally flat in big games. Like, Saleh's defenses don't quit, they don't coast, and they don't rely on one superstar to save the day. One of the most intriguing parts of this potential hire is how perfectly Saleh's philosophy fits the current Cowboys personnel. This is not a rebuild. This is not a long-term project. This is a plug-and-play situation where a proven defensive architect is stepping into a unit loaded with elite athletes. Saleh thrives when he has speed at linebacker, pass rushers who can win one-on-one, and defensive backs who aren't afraid to be aggressive. Dallas checks every single one of those boxes. That's why so many people around the league see this as a dangerous combination. Let's talk about Micah Parsons, because everything starts and ends with him. Micah Parsons has already established himself as one of the most dominant defensive players in football, but under Robert Saleh, he could become something even more terrifying. Saleh is famous for moving his best players around, refusing to let offenses key in on one spot. Micah wouldn't just be an edge rusher. He wouldn't just be a linebacker. He would be a weapon deployed wherever the offense is weakest. One drive, he's screaming off the edge. The next drive, he's shooting through the A gap. The next drive, he's dropping back just enough to bait a quarterback into a mistake. That kind of unpredictability is what destroys game plans. And it's not just Micah. DeMarcus Lawrence suddenly becomes even more dangerous because Saleh's schemes create favorable matchups. The interior defensive line benefits because Saleh emphasizes penetration and leverage, not just size. Linebackers are taught to attack downhill with confidence, not hesitate. This defense would no longer be about reacting. It would be about dictating. The secondary is another area where this hire could pay massive dividends. Robert Saleh believes in trusting his corners. He believes in press coverage. He believes in challenging receivers at the line of scrimmage and forcing quarterbacks to hold the ball just long enough for the pass rush to get home. That is a dream scenario for players like Trayvon Diggs and Deron Bland, who thrive when they're allowed to be aggressive and play the football. Instead of sitting back and hoping the offense makes a mistake, this defense would be hunting turnovers. What also stands out about Saleh is his ability to adjust. One of the biggest criticisms of the Cowboys defense in recent years has been the lack of in-season adjustments. When something stops working, it often feels like the answer comes too late. Saleh has proven over and over again that he can tweak schemes, shift personnel, and change tendencies without panicking. His defenses evolve as the season goes on. They don't peak early and fade late. That alone could be the difference between another early playoff exit and a legitimate postseason run. This hire also sends a very clear message about where the Cowboys are mentally as an organization. This is not a team content with winning 10 or 11 games and calling it a successful season. This is a move made by a franchise that knows the window is open right now and that the margin for excuses is shrinking. When you bring in a coach like Robert Saleh, you are telling the locker room that comfort is gone. Reputations don't matter. Draft status doesn't matter. Performance does. There is also an undeniable layer of pressure that comes with this decision, especially for the head coach. Bringing in a defensive coordinator of Saleh's stature changes the internal dynamics of the coaching staff. This is a coach with head coaching experience, league-wide respect, and the ability to command a room. That can be a blessing, but it can also be a silent warning. If the team still falls short, if the same problems persist, the spotlight will not be on the defense anymore. It will be on the overall leadership of the team. From a league-wide perspective, this move does not go unnoticed. Offensive coordinators will be forced to prepare differently for Dallas. Quarterbacks will know they can't rely on simplified reads or extended time in the pockets. Running games will be tested by disciplined fronts that don't over-pursue. This defense would be built to stop modern offenses, not just survive against them. Of course, no hire is without risk. Expectations would immediately skyrocket. Saleh would be expected to fix issues that have lingered for years, and he would be doing so under the brightest spotlight in the NFL. Dallas is not New York or San Francisco. The scrutiny is constant. Every bad game would be dissected, every adjustment questioned, but if there's a defensive coach built to handle pressure, it's Robert Saleh. He has been in chaotic situations before. He has coached through losing seasons, quarterback disasters, and nonstop media noise. That experience matters. What makes this situation so fascinating is that it feels like a crossroads moment for the Cowboys. Either this is the hire that finally gives them an identity they can rely on when things get tough, or it becomes another examples of talent failing to meet expectations. But unlike previous years, the excuses are running out. Like, the roster is good, the stars are in place, and now the defensive mind guiding them is one of the most respected in football. If this hire is finalized and Robert Saleh is officially introduced as the Cowboys' new defensive coordinator, don't expect immediate perfection. There will be growing pains. There will be moments where players adjust to new responsibilities. But over time, you should expect to see a defense that looks faster, hits harder, communicates better, and most importantly, responds when punched in the mouth. Cowboys fans have been asking for change, not surface level change, real change, cultural change, identity change. And this move, more than almost any other in recent memory, feels like a genuine attempt to answer that call. Whether it ultimately leads to postseason success remains to be seen, but one thing is undeniable. The Dallas Cowboys are no longer standing still. They are swinging. And now, the rest of the league is watching.